I'd say this game is the last game in an era where fighting games was made single player.
Yeah, I agree. This is most definitely. I agree entirely.
After this point, fighting games started really becoming all about multiplayer. And that's never been truer than it is today. Hello and welcome back to another brand new episode of everyone's favorite podcast, the Critical Arcade Podcast. I'm your co-host, Nick.
And I'm Dave.
Hello, Dave.
Hello, Nick. You well?
Yes, I'm well, thank you. Dave, do you have any gaming blind spots?
Do I have any gaming blind spots? Let's have a look. Oh.
Well, everyone does. What's your gaming blind spot?
You say everyone does, and I'm blank. I'm like, I've played everything. I'm trying to think of a game I haven't played.
Dave, the ultimate gamer.
Okay, horror games. I think that's kind of known in the podcast now. I haven't played my fair share of the Resident Evils, the Silent Hills, the
Dead Spaces.
The Dead Spaces, yeah. My biggest blind spot is probably horror-affiliated games in some way or form. Why'd you ask?
Really? I was gonna say your blind spot's The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, that's also kind of true. Yeah, that's a small game. Many people have never even heard of Zelda. It's, who's heard of Zelda, right? People don't even know Zelda's not even the main character. Like, that's Link,
You
right?
joke. I'm pretty sure that tons of people...
it's still a thing, They still ask people till this day who's the lead protagonist in the Zelda games, and they say Zelda continuously. Now, some games, you could argue that's true. Nobody remembers his name's Link in the slightest. It is quite funny how that still stays in people's minds.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, yes, I haven't played that many Zelda games. I really haven't, and it's a very sad point of mine. But no, but you have. You played. Like, again, we fill each other's gaps in the game sphere quite well.
Do kind of say my gaming blind spots. One of the biggest would be the Metal Gear Solid series. I've not.
You played one.
I played one. I played one on the channel. Peace Walker. Sure, we played Peace Walker on the channel.
That's right.
That's it. Well,
yeah, I know. I was gonna try and just give you an excuse or give you an out for that, but you're right. That isn't right. It's almost as bad as not playing Halo games.
Ooh.
Who hasn't played Halo games? Am I right? Like everyone's.
Okay. Before you embarrass me even further. The reason I brought up blind spots in video game is this week we're talking about another one of my blind spots, which is this week's game. Dave, fill us in.
This week's game is a game I didn't even know that I forgot that I actually have a long history in playing, because I think every young boy, young girl, to some degree, there's a period in your life where when you're playing video games, and then fighting games come into your platform or everyone's talking about, everyone's playing, so you pick them up yourself. And I was never a Tekken guy. I was never a Mortal Kombat guy. I was never a Virtual Fighter or Street Fighter.
Yeah.
Because I wanted one thing in my fighting games, and I wanted weapons. I wanted big swords, I wanted small swords, I wanted shields, I wanted everything. And that's where SoulCalibur came in. And SoulCalibur 3, the game we're doing today, it was the first game I purchased. I'm fairly certain I have a copy of this somewhere. And it was just a random purchase.
The first game you purchased?
First fighting game I purchased.
The first fighting game, excuse me.
Because I am the era of blockbuster videos, so I used to rent them over weekends, and I know I rented SoulCalibur on a few times, same with Tekken and stuff. But SoulCalibur 3 is the first fighting game I ever purchased, and I had great taste. I'm not trying to be funny, but of all the SoulCalibur games you could pick up, I had fantastic taste in my first one.
I get it. I understand. I completely get it. By just saying that I've not played any of these SoulCalibur games, it tracks what you're saying.
But by all accounts, this game itself, it's made by Namco. Everybody knows Namco by now. They're kind of a big publisher. You know Namco, right?
Yeah, this was before they merged with Bandai.
That's right. I'd forgotten that fact when I was naming Namco then, and I was thinking, what does Namco make? And then, Bandai Namco makes everything. They make everything now. The fun thing about this game, it's strange to say it now, it was a PlayStation 2 exclusive when it came out. This game was kind of peaking at that point. SoulCalibur was pretty competitive in regards to the fighting scene, be it Tekken, The Dead or Alive. This only came out on... This was a PlayStation 2 exclusive, which is kind of weird with all the exclusives coming out now for Xbox, so it's on its way back.
Is it that weird? I can't. Was it on any other system? I'm assuming it was on. It could have been on the Xbox, right? Or the game.
Not 3. Later on, 4 and 5 were released on the Xboxes and stuff like that, and now you can get this game on the PlayStation 4 and 5, I think, in regards to going to the PlayStation Network. But and this was series,
excuse me. And the series peaked with SoulCalibur 2 and 3.
Yes, it really did. It did kind of go downhill afterwards, even though they tried to chuck Yoda and Geralt, the Witcher, into the game to try and spice it up a bit. It did slowly... They didn't go past... I think the last one was 6. They never made it past. If you think how long ago that was now, it kind of just died off. I don't know why. It's still one of my favourite games, but the competitive scene in regards to Street Fighter and all the other Mortal Kombat has just amped it up so much. I just think SoulCalibur got left behind to some degree.
I think if we unpack this game, I think we'll be able to find an answer. How about we start with the narrative, unless you have something else? No.
We can jump into the narrative again. Anyone who's played a fighting game such as this knows that the narratives are kind of love-hate. Do you like every other fighting game, the narrative of this game fundamentally follows whichever character you choose, right?
Yeah.
In regards to the roster, there's 40 people in this roster in whole, so that's 40 unique little tiny stories that some of them intertwine into one another. Some of them are just like fluff pieces that don't really have much into it, and two of them I always thought were kind of like the lead roles in it, and that's Siegfried and Nightmare. Do you know the stories of Siegfried? Like, out of curiosity.
I don't.
Do you know which one Siegfried is?
I know which one Siegfried is. I watched the video. I kind of read their bios a bit, and I read the story on Wikipedia, or the Spark Notes version. So I know who Siegfried is, and I know Nightmare, and I know it's the two cursed swords.
That's right.
Destined to battle.
So what Siegfried, who's German, which I also kind of liked because my family was German. I'm not going to be able to say his surname for Siegfried Schratoffen. I know I've said that wrong, but it's such a cool German name. He used to be Nightmare, or a version of Nightmare. He used to try to, he's the big bad. He was trying to take over the world. He was trying to... So he then managed to break away from being Nightmare, and he's tormented from all the things and people he killed and things he did. So now he hunts down the soul edge, so that he can stop anybody else being hurt by it and stuff. So he's got kind of the redemption path. He's your white knight. He's your trying to stop it.
Okay.
And Nightmare himself is just a fueled frenzy of bad juju and stuff like that, who's trying to enslave humanity, end humanity, just wants a good fight. He's the big bad. The rest, again, have their own little stories. Like, one of my favorite, even now and as a kid, was Mitsurugi, the Japanese samurai guy, because, again, his moveset is very just peak, just breaking people's guards and quite easy to deal with. He's just trying to get stronger. He's got the Zorro type of storyline in regards to just becoming the
peak
greatest
samurai.
swordsman, right?
Yes, he just needs to be the strongest of them all, and he's got the kit that samurai would have. Katana.
And the rest, again, a lot of them are just some like sibling rivalry. Some of them are just in love and doesn't want the loved ones to get in danger at some points. Some of them are slightly entangled in the cursed blade type things.
I don't really mind. I've never dove headfirst into a fighting game myself.
That's what I mean.
I'm kind of expecting to do that to Marvel Tokon, but I've always really liked the concept of fighting games giving each character their own little short campaign, because you can start and finish one in an evening.
No, exactly right. And it's got that arcadey feel, right? Like when you're in the arcades, you choose one character, you defeat the 10 stages, you get to see what's going on. like as a retro gamer type, I do enjoy them. I even now, as you get older, the campiness and the just absurdity of some of the stories just make you smile. It's like watching the old Mortal Kombat movies or any of the old movies. Like, to think that back in the day they wrote these with a degree of like seriousness to them. Like, one of them is just an overly protected big brother of their little sister. And that's the story. That is literally it. It's just big brother superpower, and that's why I am so strong.
I need to protect my little sister. Let me punch the devil in the face.
That's what I mean. It's so simplistic, but kind of just absurdly makes you smile through a lot of it.
It is.
And again, who doesn't love...
like the campiness that fighting games have taken on recently.
Yeah, agreed. Bring that all back. I love that stuff. It's so much. So much more. We all loved Dead Stranding and Last of Us and all the deep characters and narratives, but sometimes you just want to beat somebody up with a big sword and look cool doing it. Yeah, I love that type of stuff. And who doesn't love a good light versus dark, good versus bad, kind of like the story in games you play.
So the narrative for this game is a bit... That's part of it. What we were talking right now, that's called Tales of Souls. Each character's got their own little story that you can fight through and see the beginning, middle, end, all in an evening. So you can have a couple of evenings with friends, see all the stories. It's a fun time. The other part of the narrative for this game, which is, as I read, non-canonical.
Correct, yeah. Sadly, it's not. But it's
that's
very much non-canonical.
Chronicles of the Sword.
Which was the first time SoulCalibur put something like this into their game, which is so cool.
It really is. I played a couple rounds of this. I'm stunned.
How did you only play a couple rounds? I remember as a kid, hours into this.
Oh, I get it.
And I still to this day, it's so strange for a fighting game to do this, because like Nick was about to say, you create your own character, which is very commonplace now in fighting games. You get to play your own character, fight all the... But this was kind of new. This was a new concept back then. Yeah. And this one was fleshed out. It's kind of like a... Narratively, you are kind of a nobody who then slowly, without giving away too much gameplay, you climb the ranks, you defend your situation, and then you go up against other antagonists, slowly getting bigger and bigger. The antagonists get bigger and bigger as you fight them, and you kind of save the day yourself.
Yes, but here's the kicker. I don't think we've mentioned yet, to anyone listening to this who's not played SoulCalibur 3, this isn't just a fighting game anymore.
Yeah, true. Very true.
This single game mode in this game is an RTS, a real-time strategy, where you command a little army, a little squadron, and you take over bases and you conquer a little chunk of land.
That's right. It's like a game board, right? Like a tabletop type game board.
Yes,
thing, yeah.
Just a tiny game of Risk. But instead of soldiers, you've got fighters, and when you interact with an enemy fighter,
that's right.
It's a 3-round match.
And it gets so cool later, because you just, like I said, you've only played later on. We'll delve into the gameplay, but later on it actually gets super complex and super hard as well.
Really?
I kid you not.
Okay.
It is actually difficult later on. Okay, narratively, it is still just light versus dark. But gameplay later, it just adds debuffs to you continuously. It is insanely complicated.
Okay, so let's bring that up in gameplay.
Yeah,
narrative.
Exactly.
I like that there's just a ton of narrative in this game. In the museum, you can read really fleshed out bios for each and every character.
Yeah, that's right. But this was lauded as so much bang for your buck back in the day, because there is so much there.
Absolutely.
It is crazy. The story, it is what it is. You're saving the world. It's a big sword versus your big sword, or your cool katana, or whatever you're doing. Those ones are your everyday fighting game type narrative. They're all fundamentally blend into one another. Doesn't matter which fighting game you play.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still a good time. I'm not gonna put it up there on its pedestal like all the other big narratives ones, Expeditions 33, things like that. But it's still a good time narratively.
I get it. It takes you. It is fun but
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit, I might step on some toes. The actual setting leaves me cold.
Well, that hurts as like a European because most of the setting in this is European.
But I mean, we have Europe.
We do.
So this is just, let me get this straight. This is just 16th century Europe, but there are 2 magical swords.
Fundamentally,
That's
yes.
it.
That is fundamentally it. For some reason, you've got some like travelers from other lands come to Europe, but yes, this is a very.
It's not. Okay. It's not like sure, these are cool characters, and they're all special because they fight good.
Yeah.
But is that it? Yes.
Yes. Well, you say that like there's some deep complexity to other fighting games that this game, like there's a nuance that this is missing. Like Blanka, like if you really go deep down into Street Fighter's Blanka, he's a complex soul who's green and angry. Yes, you're right. I don't know why this. I've only after playing this game have I noticed how visually it's set in Europe. I didn't even notice that before.
This is very Europe.
It's all cathedrals. It's all like the Thames or the riverbanks. I've never actually noticed that before until playing this game again. And it's all, it's aristocratal as well, depending on who you're fighting.
Of course you didn't notice it because when you were playing this, you were in Europe. This was just
this was
where you were.
That's right. There's cathedrals everywhere. There's stained glass, everything in Europe. But I do get what you mean. I am surrounded by it. And when I was playing this, and I was 13, maybe younger, I wasn't really looking at the scenery. I'm going to tell you that much right now. It wasn't the scenery that had my eye.
Oh yeah. I'm sniffing a segue into visuals.
Yes. The visuals in this game cracked me up because there was... Okay, let's first say the opening cutscene is actually still pretty good. Did you like the opening cutscene? Now,
no.
PlayStation 2... No!
I'll tell you why in a later segment.
Wow. Okay, what I thought the opening... It's PlayStation 2 graphics, so it's nothing blowing you away, but it's got that same... just cutaways to like different stories, be it Siegfried himself and the nightmare fella. It's got that nostalgic feels, and then you go. So I instantly selected the story arc. I went to the character selection screen, and then I noticed something very Japanese. Which I swear, only in my 30s have I started noticing this. I
know what you're gonna say.
Okay, I was scrolling through the characters, and the first characters were male, and it was just like, I was like, okay, cool, Voldo, or whatever his name is, yeah, cool. And then I randomly selected one of the female characters, and then the little portrait.
It just so happens to be Ivy.
Yeah, and the portrait comes onto the screen where the writing is, and for some reason. The jiggle mechanics just pop in for like 2 frames, like they've taken a step down into somewhere, and I was like, I've read about how Japan and the jiggle physics and stuff were kind of out of control, are kind of out of foot, but only as a grown up have I gone, wow, was that entirely necessary? I get when they're jumping around, but I just selected their name. It's a tiny little portrait of them, but every single one of the ladies, unfortunately, jiggles. Well, fortunately, unfortunately, depending which way you want to look at, jiggles as you select them. Yeah, which I was like, wow, that's some pretty interesting stuff.
I noticed the same thing, but I also picked one of the larger gentlemen. He's red. I can't remember what his name is, but he's a large red man.
Yeah, that's right. The big guy.
And he's got some big old man pecs.
Yeah, I know him. I don't know his name either.
And they jiggle the exact same.
Whoa! Inclusivity! Who knew? I didn't know that was a thing. I obviously was not looking at...
Way to go, Japan! Nice!
My eyes were obviously drawn to one side of the screen compared to the other. Wow, so pecs were jiggling too.
Yep.
Well, that just makes me proud. That's inclusivity. That's everything we want in games.
Exactly. Young Dave knew how to pick them.
Oh yeah,
this is one of the good ones.
And yeah, you didn't accidentally just mention Ivy now, like most of the world doesn't know exactly who you mean in regards to Ivy and her armor she's wearing, which is, ladies and gents, not much armor. No, I don't think that's helping her much in her fights, but you know,
the character models, they hold up remarkably well. Not necessarily only in the cinematic intro, which visually was good, but the characters look great. The levels are also quite good. Some of these levels are great. Like the one you mentioned earlier, that you're fighting on a raft going down a river. Again, there's the nostalgia of ring outs and classic fighting games. I love that one because in Virtual Fighter they kind of do the same thing, but it's on like a bamboo raft in China or something, and it's the old guy. Oh, I loved these stages. I missed the old school stages that used to move and was just, again, the nostalgia. I've got lots of nostalgia goggles because it was, like I said, it was more fun realizing I've played this game a lot keep
and
those
forgot
goggles
it.
on.
But yeah, it looks. On the game itself, when you play it, it looks good. The character models look good. It is all, for some reason, set in Europe, which I never even contemplated as a thing. All these Japanese characters are also all in Europe for some reason in regards to fighting the sword, getting the sword's power, fundamentally.
Speaking of fighting, I think even in the middle of fighting, an important thing for these fighting games to get right, which I think the most successful ones do, is the animations. Having them smooth, flashy, and cool. Cool is very important. Some of these attacks are just incredibly satisfying to watch. If you pull off a combo and it just looks cool, that's hell yeah.
And there's a degree of weightiness, right? Because you played the big red guy, his attacks were always fundamentally slow, but when they smacked hard. Yeah. Be it if you're the samurai guy, same thing. But if you're the little ladies or Cassandra or any of the little ones, they move a lot more faster. Their attacks high, low, and they are animated almost like a dance in a lot of the ones they do in regards to their movements and unnecessary spins in regards to their sword strokes.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
And I love.
I think it was all to make it look aesthetically pleasing.
And the old fighting games. I love how it's also so much tongue-in-cheek as well, because there's a guy who's wearing a rhino for a head. There's a skeleton guy. There's a pirate who's an assassin. I love the old, just the whimsiness of the characters.
Yeah, this quirky, goofy whimsy.
Yes,
that is
exactly.
Great. I think that's something that these fighting games have always gotten away with. My favorite example is just. The panda in Tekken and the wood
in Tekken. Yeah.
The wood guy in Tekken. It's just a log.
I can't remember wood guy. Strange enough, I remember the panda. I can't remember the wood guy.
Yeah, in Tekken, there's just a fighter made of logs.
Oh, I do slightly know who you're talking about now.
Because that makes no sense.
I did read that from Blockbuster Videos.
We went to Comic-Con the other day, my brother-in-law and I, and there was a Tekken tournament on the big screen in the hall.
Of course, I know the place.
I didn't understand what was happening because I recognized King.
Yes, of course.
Leopard head wrestler.
Of course,
but he was fighting also King. But it was a snow leopard, and he had armor and a robe. And apparently, my brother-in-law told me, those are not the same people?
Whoa. You've just blown my mind. There are two leopard head wearing things in Tekken now.
Exactly.
They're brothers or something.
I don't know. I don't know. Somebody please comment what's up with King and I think Armor King. But
that's crazy.
What I'm trying to get at is fighting games have always gotten away with just the most absurd, ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. Which is their charm. I agree. That's part of the charm. Agreed entirely. Look at Valdo himself. You must have seen or know or
I saw some of Valdo and I got scared.
He's based on I can't remember what it is, Spanish or Portuguese or Argentinian dance. The way he spins and the body movements, it's a dance combined with like a taxidermist kind of dead body stiffness. I as a kid hated Valdo. I was genuinely feared Valdo because of the way he moved. He is a bit
repulsive.
Yeah, and he's also complete and total bullshit when you fight him. I still hate that. He's got like 16 low attacks that no one else has, that it's very hard to block. But sorry, that's just my own frustration comes out. But again, to their credit, Voldo is slimy. He's kind of weird. He is a grotesque looking guy, which comes across on the screen when he's on it.
I think that's a big plus for the visuals. You can clearly see what type of fighter these players are by just looking at them.
Yes, exactly.
Right, Mishima, was that the samurai? What was his name?
Mitsurugi, but I don't know what his first name was. Yeah.
By just looking at the samurai person clad in his getup, gi or whatever, and he's got a katana, you've got a fairly good idea of what kind of attacks he's gonna
agreed like his playstyle entirely.
If you look at a knight with a big old greatsword, you kind of know what to expect.
Agreed.
That's a clear
visual design
visual design point. That's incredible.
Agreed. Anything else visually though, or do you want to jump into the audio, because I know audio's your thing? So what do you think of the audio, Nick? Audio man.
I think the audio for this is PlayStation 2 audio. We're talking some MIDI, but we're also talking about actual produced tracks. We're talking about actual recorded soundtracks, recorded voice lines, but still a certain part of just synthetic sound.
Yes, of course. Is that just the limitations of the software itself, or is it
both,
actually...
really, it's both. The PlayStation 2 had an advanced enough sound card installed, but there were still some limitations with the technology, especially the CPU, where you couldn't not just go crazy with sound like you could eventually do on the PS3 and obviously PS4. There were still some limitations, so they had to kind of, especially with the sound effects, you can play a backing track, but if let's say in a fighting game where there's loads of punches and kicks, it still just had to be some synthetic sounds. Like, I think the sound effects in SoulCalibur 3 are satisfying. The weapons have a nice impact. If it's a big old scythe or sword, you can hear a big old chunky slice.
Yep.
But the sound, but that's just it. It's satisfying, which is fine. But the music is serviceable. I'd go so far as to say the music is generic.
Well, it's funny you say this. Do you know that this is the first SoulCalibur game where they actually put a ton of money into the sound? Now, it's not necessarily the soundtrack or composer. It was the first game they used THX surround sound, which was a big thing in the day. It no longer exists, I don't think. But it was the first game they actually put a lot more money into the sound, and I think it's more the aspects of trying to make it more surround sound for PlayStation era type game instead of flat noises, which I think they do quite well, like you said. The attacks are weighty and there is a degree of gravitas to those things. But I do agree, like soundtrack wise, it's kind of bland. It's not really got a number of bangers to play to.
Yeah. They made a big deal about the THX at the when you boot up the game. There's like this big Space Invaders orchestra thing.
Exactly right.
It's quirky, but I think this was just a sign of the times, really. This was 2005. This was when people were moving away from just their TV speakers and were buying sound systems for their living rooms.
When subwoofers came into play. Yeah.
So you're okay. I'll take back some of what I said. This is, I'd say, I couldn't hear it exactly, but would be at the forefront of utilizing surround sound in a living room.
Yes, it would. Again, the only thing I sort of saw in regards to the music that I kind of liked is that the music itself kind of matched the character you were playing. Tira, the green ring lady with the like the jester type feel to her. Her music was fundamentally unstable and such. Mitsurugi's was Japanese in its history and background, and of course Nightmares was kind of just a massive fear-inducing noise when you played him or played against him. So I thought that was kind of apt in regards to the themes who you're playing. Okay, now let's say the music, soundtrack, things like that was kind of mediocre. Now, the voice acting, which you can't say there's a lot of voice acting in this. It's not just words upon words being spoken. But when I went through the voice actors to find out if any of them were like, did we know them? Have they gotten further? I was like, holy crap. I love doing this so much because this is the voice of a fighter in SoulCalibur 3, and then you see where some of them now are is crazy.
Really?
It's so cool. Do you know I'm gonna say his name wrong too. Zazalamel, the big black fellow with the scythe.
Yes, with the scythe, the immortal.
Right. He's voiced by Keith Silverstein. Which, do you know that name at all? Because you should.
No.
You should.
I should? Keith Silverstein.
Yeah. No, granted, it's always hard to keep track of voice actors in games, to be honest with you.
No.
Because if they're not Troy Barker...
Who's Keith Silverstein?
Okay. You don't... First of all, for all those anime heads out there, it's Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter. But I know you haven't watched that. Now, I could tell you he's from Overwatch. Does that help you?
Whoa.
Granted, I don't know this
I'm going to guess Lucio.
No. His name begins with T.
T?
And it's hard to kind of say. He sounds European.
Ooh, is he Haitian?
I don't know. I've only written his name down. I don't think that's a Haitian name, to be honest with you. It's okay. Torbjorn.
He's Torbjorn.
There you go. That's it. I guess that's how you say. He's Torbjorn from whoever that is.
No way.
He's also. You've played Persona 5, right?
I did, of course.
You got 200 hours into.
I have
Persona
200 hours in Persona 5.
He was in Persona 5. He had a big role in Persona 5.
What? Torbjorn had a big role in Persona 5.
Yeah, well, yes, the voice actor movie, but yes.
Okay. Yes, I do. I do know who this is. I recognize. I remember now. He's Sojiro.
Who's that? Who's Sojiro? Which one's Sojiro from Persona 5?
What do you mean, Sojiro? Your dad. Your quote-unquote dad.
No! He's the bold bad guy. It's the big, bold, Shido guy. Have I written this down?
What?
Have I written this down now? It is, right? It's who's the big, aggressive, dickhead, bold guy in Persona 5?
It's been too long. I think I'm due for another 200 hours.
See, I expect you to know their name so well because you're a name person. I was right.
The gangster, Kaneshiro.
Yes, it's Masayoshi Shido.
Shido?
Yes.
Shido. He's the bald guy, but he's like the politician near the end of the game.
I thought he's the bad guy. Is he not the bad guy? Have I forgotten
He's
that
the
much
bad guy. He's the bad guy.
Yeah, him. He voices him. I don't know.
Whoa.
He is the voice of that. No,
I thought he was voicing Sojiro. Anyway.
There's also a character called Setsuka, which is a girly character. You may, like I said, I don't expect you to know all the characters in it because there's like 40. She's played by voiced by a woman called Carrie Walgren. Do you know that name at all?
No.
Now, granted, this is just me pulling my anime stuff out, so this one's a bit of a mean one to do to you. Okay. Have you heard of the Fate Stay franchise, like the anime?
No.
Okay. For all those anime heads out there, she plays the voice of Saber, which is fundamentally the lead character in the Fate Stay franchise to some degree.
Okay.
And she plays the grandmother in Dan, which is another anime which I'm sure you must have seen on Netflix or something.
I've seen it around. Is the grandmother the one that doesn't look like a grandmother?
Yeah, this is Japanese anime. Of course she doesn't look like a grandmother. she's just a hot older woman they call grandma fundamentally. Okay, but yes, it is her. And Siegfried. Don't forget Siegfried.
Give me Siegfried. Who's that?
Siegfried Schrotroffen is a gentleman named Crispin Freeman, and he's also from Overwatch. Go on, you played Overwatch for years.
I did. I used to. Okay, give me a hint.
He is not necessarily human. Which is
not necessarily human. Is he a gorilla?
He is a gorilla. That's where I was
Winston?
going. He is Winston. He's also Itachi from Naruto, which I know you have watched. So he's Itachi Achida, or whatever the hell his surname is. And Alucard from Hellsing, which I know you haven't watched, which is an anime.
Ooh.
So it's so cool seeing these, like, there's lots of others. Some of them came semi-popular, some of them kind of died off, they didn't quite go. But it's so cool seeing the little voice work from like a SoulCalibur game develop into full-on freaking characters in
big
games.
voice
and
voice
anime series and stuff like that. I think that's so, I love that. I love going
That's
down
incredible.
that rabbit hole.
I liked the voice acting in this game. There's a part in the museum where you can go through each and every voice line for every character.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, you can.
So you said there were 40 characters?
Yes, I think all in all there's 40.
Each had more than 100 voice lines.
Yes.
They are accessible once you boot up the game, more than 4,000 voice lines that you can just access.
Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't look that hard. 4,000 lines.
Yeah. That's keep that in mind real quick.
Yeah.
40 characters, each more than 100 lines. That's 4,000 voice lines that you can just access, that they've added into the game during the gameplay for SoulCalibur 3.
Yeah.
That makes it all the more weird that when you watch this intro movie, there isn't a single voice.
That's true. It is completely
not just voice lines, but there's not even a single grunt, moan,
that's true.
hit. There's no human voice in the entire intro, filled with people fighting each other.
Oh no! It's a lot of dramatic. Visually, it's very dramatic and very windswept and everything going on the screen.
Once I noticed that, I could not watch this intro without cringing.
Wow, that must have been a strong cringe, especially from Audio Man. That's like your kryptonite. That level of no speaking. Yeah, that could kill you.
But everywhere else in this game, in fights, menus, the museum, sure, voice lines in abundance.
You know when this game booted up, right? And I saw that opening sequence, and then I saw it come up with SoulCalibur. I said in my head, SoulCalibur 3, and I thought, I swear it said that. And then the next screen, it loads up SoulCalibur, and then he said it, and I was like, hell yes. But I get what you mean. That even like I said, the whole thing, I didn't even notice, is actually very, very quiet. Like the whole sequence, it's so weird that I didn't even spot that. I was obviously just nostalgia goggles in regards to watching the whole thing. But I even glimpsed it because it didn't say SoulCalibur 3 at the end, so I must have noted there was no noise happening at that moment.
There was a part of you that noticed, why is it not talking? Why are there no voices?
But I was too enthralled. But yeah, it's a good point. Right. That is kind of strange with all the things they had going for them. They didn't add sound to that bit. That is odd.
So, the main part why people play fighting games, not visuals for the most part, not audio, not narrative, definitely. It's the gameplay.
Agreed. Fighting games live or die on their gameplay, especially nowadays in the competitive scene and stuff like that. But this is a bit different. Multiplayer hadn't really made its mark on online games just yet.
And that's my big first point. My big first point. I'd say this game is the last game in an era where fighting games was made single player.
Yeah, agreed. This is most definitely. I agree entirely. And
after this point, fighting games started really becoming all about multiplayer, and that's never been truer than it is today.
Oh, agreed. In the later SoulCalibur games, some of the attacks and like perfect counters and perfect finishes, I just plain cannot execute. They are too precision timed, too perfect movement, too hard for like that casual fighting game like myself. This is, like you said, this has got that good kind of simplistic gameplay because you're not playing against other people that too often. It still has some complexity. It has the guard impact, the soul charging, powering up or timing your blocks perfectly to help counter move openings and stuff like that. But you're right. This is one of the last games actually built around a single player experience.
And last of its kind.
Which is a lot of reason this game is actually kind of loved, because we didn't have so many games out there. We didn't have multiple. People actually feared dropping $30 to $40 in a game, knowing that gameplay wise or story wise, I've only got like 10 hours in it. It was an era where when it gave you this much in a game, you were actually like, I'll buy SoulCalibur over Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter and stuff like that.
There is so much game here.
There really is.
If you click with this gameplay, as young Dave did, this is months upon months.
And it's got all those things that now are very standard, like arcade mode, versus mode, the Tale of the Souls, be it the narrative mode, practice. There's a museum, there's a character creation, which is part of the Chronicles of the Sword thing. There's mission challenges, there's unlockable characters, quite a few unlockable characters, I might add. Their requirements are kind of complex and hard to get. Alternate costumes for each character. But like we were saying earlier, what I come back to is the Chronicles of Sword, the real-time, well, almost real-time strategy fighting arena.
Yeah. No, it is. It's an extremely simplified version, but it is a real-time strategy game mode.
Later on in that game, right? Because there's a few levels, and yes, you're trying to defend against or attack certain fortresses to some degree, right? Later on, it adds complexities like the floor is made of ice. So if you use any attacks that have too much forward momentum, you just fall out the ring and get a ring out, which means you lose instantly. Whoa. So then you've got to make your fighting more defensive. Hell, some of the levels is 5 to 6 stages, and you don't get to heal between any of them. So you're not allowed to take any damage in regards to leading up to the boss fight. There's you're hit with poison, and your health bar is just slowly decreasing as you go. They're hit with attack buffs or defense buffs that make them near and nigh on impossible to defeat. It gets so much more complicated as the game goes on.
Did you ever finish the Chronicles of the Sword when you were...
Not as a kid. It got too hard. Granted, I didn't go this far. The Chronicle of the Sword actually has lots of hours to it. Because
I can absolutely believe that.
Some of the unlockables in this game is either going through this game mode and unlocking the some of the bosses or mini bosses found in it, but also some of them are like have 716 fights, have 900 fights. It's because there are so many fights. No, seriously. You can either do it through that mode or just continuously fight again and again and again and again, and then you'll unlock characters. There's a famous character now, like a fairly popular character called, I think her name is Amy, which was the younger sister one I was talking about earlier. She's actually super popular in the latest SoulCalibur games, but she was only unlockable by also doing one of these crazy either grinds or doing these. There was a lot to this game. It was a tough game. This is the peak of SoulCalibur for me, just because of how much there is for a single player game to do in this.
This is a real fleshed out
game
that is just a game mode in SoulCalibur 3. That's incredible.
Yeah. It is. It's funny that Nick and I, we wax poetic about how good these games are, and it was the PlayStation 2, and it was 21 years ago now. But this is the impressive stuff. This is the Witcher 3 to now, or the Baldur's Gate for 2005. This was blowing things out of the water, which makes me so much sadder that SoulCalibur seems to have died off. I don't think there's any even on the horizon, because there's too many fighting games that have taken over its place and gotten super serious. Because I would play another SoulCalibur game. I like SoulCalibur games. I like swords. I want I want to smack people with things. I don't want to do kung fu. Granted, I do like Chun-Li. Chun-Li will always be a fan.
Who doesn't like Chun-Li?
I'll be a fan. But yeah, this game had a lot in it. This is absolutely chock-a-block full of actual gameplay for you to enjoy for hours and hours.
I think one thing that I liked about SoulCalibur that really put it apart from all the other games at the time, Tekken, Street Fighter, the like, was, as you mentioned, its focus on weapons. Instead of fists, or feet or thighs. In this game, you had great swords and spears and
that's what I always
nunchucks and scythes and daggers and pole arms, and all of that had a character or two. Or what are those weird circle blades?
I don't know. I know the ones you're talking about because they're
you know
also
what
really
It looks
cool.
like a frisbee.
I do like those as well. I have no clue what they're called.
This game had that.
Cool as hell. Yeah.
Not only characters for that, but you could create, you could create your own character with its own fighting style.
And the characters you created, you got an equipping system. They had gloves, helmet, feet, guards. They all had different perks and debuffs to them. Again, like you said, I've always loved the ones with the swords because it adds complexity, be it reach, be it no reach, being heavy attacks, being small attacks, being different guards or guard breaks and stuff like that. I think, I loved these games because I want a weapon and I want to smack someone with it. I don't want to.
It makes complete sense. It makes sense. Not only could you pick someone with a weapon, you could make someone with a weapon. And then with this character, you can go through the entirety of Chronicles of the Sword. This is pure fantasy. If you're a 13-year-old boy, this is it.
Let me also point out, I am not good at this game. People always
who cares?
I am button mashing up and down, left, right, then button mash, and then things magic happens. Yeah.
I'm so tired of the conversation of being good at games. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care. I'm not good at this game. I still played it. Being good at a game is turning me off of video games, fighting games. Now,
I would not
because of its excessive emphasis on multiplayer. If you don't stack up to multiplayer and you're not good at the game, don't play. This is why I'm so impressed that this was the last of its kind.
Yes, agree. It like I said, today the fighting scene is kind of demoralizing unless you've got hours upon hours to actually practice and learn all the lore. Yeah, this is just a good time. It is. Button mash, go up and down, jump backwards, absolutely fall out the stage, because I did that plenty of times too. But again, when you get it right, when you ring somebody out, when you manage to do a counter or grab someone accidentally and it just makes you look cool, it's just got all that stuff in it. What do you think performance-wise, though?
Performance, I have something interesting. I scored this quite low. I didn't have any performance issues, right? And on the surface, this game looks like it has quite solid performance with a mostly smooth frame rate at 60 FPS and fast enough loading times. It doesn't look like there's any performance issues at all, but I read online that there's an infamous launch save corruption bug.
Oh, I did read that. That's true. It crippled some save game files or something.
Yes, yes. Apparently some early copies could just entirely erase your save data.
It's such a crazy, is that accidentally programmed in, or does someone put that like a backdoor maliciously? I always wonder how you can accidentally code that.
It must be a bug.
I'm intrigued how you accidentally code, this, and then execute and just delete everything. Just in and it was an original animation for loading a title screen or something like that. But yes, I do remember reading that it absolutely destroyed people's hours upon hours of progress in the game.
And in a game like this, where I don't think we mentioned it earlier, another part of this game was saving enough gold and then buying outfits, buying skins, buying weapons, buying items. There were 3 separate shops run by 3 young ladies.
Yeah.
And you could just lose all of that progress if you happened to encounter this bug.
Yeah, I did. I remember reading that. Fortunately, I can only imagine the young boy me would have lost his mind, and I wouldn't have picked it up again. By all accounts, I was that person. I would have stopped playing. I would not have started again, and I would have just been pissed, and I'd have never seen the game again. But yeah, I can understand that is kind of frustrating. Fortunately, I never managed to bump into this
bug. They fixed later when the game kind of sold in a Game of the Year release or a greatest hits or platinum version. Then it
did. It definitely released in those as well, because they definitely did have a best.
Not surprised at all.
Okay, so what did you think of value for money then?
My usual argument in value for money is the impact a game has versus the amount of hours you can get out of it. Basically, quality over quantity.
That's it.
In this case, it's just quantity. Just the amount of game that you get from this is undeniable.
Yeah, and it's still crazy just think the limitations that the PlayStation 2 had. In my mind, PlayStation 2 games aren't even a gigabyte big. Am I wrong in saying that?
I think no. I think this has to be,
because back in the day, discs. Okay, yeah, I'm going mental. Yeah, because in my mind, CD compact discs were only ever 700 megabytes, but then they did later go on to 4.7, so I am mental.
Well, yeah, but this is the
so
PS2. It had the capabilities of a DVD player, and DVDs of 4.7 gigabytes?
Yeah, that's right. That's what I'd forgotten. I was obviously too set in my PlayStation 1 days.
But
it has got a lot there, though. Yep.
There's a ton here. This manages to have a tight gameplay loop with the fighting game mechanics and overflows with content.
Yeah, and if you do want to get your hands on a copy, it's like $10 to $15 on eBay or wherever you else go shopping. It's not a hard game to get hold of, so that's great. And it is part of the PlayStation subscription. If you are subscribed to that, you get the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3 kind
it's
of
included in PS Plus Deluxe.
Yeah, exactly. And and again, if you don't even have it on that, I believe that you can buy it via PlayStation for like $10. I'm sure GOG has it potentially. It's everywhere. It's not a hard game to find and play yourself by all accounts. It's there.
How about this? In with this game, SoulCalibur 3, that's got this very good fighting gameplay loop. With a game where every character has their own story, it has a character creator, weapon unlocks, costume unlocks, shops, museum, Chronicle of the Sword, and multiple other modes with tons of replayability. Would you pay $60 for this in 2005?
Oh, that's a fairly complex question, because who's telling me it has all this in it? If you're telling me it has all this great stuff in it, maybe. But if like IGN was telling me this, or Polygon or something like that, I would. You can't trust things now. Like
you can't. You can trust Critical Arcade.
You can trust Critical Arcade because we
can trust us. Trust me, you can trust us.
We don't get lots of money from them yet. As soon as we get paid lots of money from them, we'll of course just chill out to the highest bidder. But no, we are honest. I don't know, $60.
Yeah, if I was a fighting game enjoyer, I would.
But as we're both in our 30s, and I do think fighting games kind of lose their luster as you grow up a bit. I don't mean that in like a dig in any way. I just think they do, and most people I know have had that same like romance with fighting games from like teenage to young adult, and then they slowly delve into something else as they grow up. I wouldn't pay $60 for a fighting game anymore. Even
okay, that's 30-year-old Dave. Would 13-year-old Dave do it?
Hell yes. Yes, 100%. Sorry, 13-year-old Dave was a moron. He would definitely buy this for the jiggle physics alone. I had Dead or Alive. Thank you very much. I had that game. I bought that game with my pocket money. So yeah. 13-year-old David was a degenerate, and he would have definitely bought this game for that price.
That is hilarious.
But yeah, either way, what did we score this in the long run then? With all its faults and its good and bad, what score did we give it?
Our scores for SoulCalibur 3 all came around to one big cathedral. It was locked on the outside, but little did they know that on the inside of this cathedral, resting on the altar, was the Soul Edge.
Nice.
One of them knew, and it was Siegfried with his sword, the SoulCalibur? What's the good one called?
I think that the thing is, I never knew this either. So yes, okay, good one is SoulCalibur, Soul Edge is the bad one. Yes, you're right, you got it.
Okay, Siegfried busted through the doors, destroyed Soul Edge, like in an instant. It really is that easy if Nightmare can just go somewhere else.
Yeah.
And everyone rejoiced. Thankfully, they were all already there. And Soul Edge dissipated and made a nice little cloud in the sky in the form of the latest grade rating of C+, which I think it could have been higher if it wasn't for that devastating game-breaking bug.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that I even had the nostalgia goggles on to some degree. Like, God knows what it was actually.
It doesn't matter. We need more nostalgia goggles.
See, plus it is what it is. It's everyone should play a SoulCalibur game at least once in their lives, particularly if you do like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter or whichever. There's lots of fighting games now that I get lost in with all of them. But yeah, give it a go. I think it's C+. Again, it's for PlayStation 2 games. That's great. Like, this is a PlayStation 2 game now compared to to all the other games that we've got out there that blow it out the water, C+ game is still good. You should still play it. Give it a go. Especially if you like Japanese ladies and men pecs. Let's not forget about men pecs. If you do enjoy the men pec angle, this has got you covered. Yeah, C+ not bad. I say give it a go. Somebody got my seal of approval.
I enjoy me some man pecs.
Who doesn't? Good old man pec once in a while.
Yeah. But yeah, thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Critical Arcade Podcast. Do the press subscribe and like and comment.
Tell us who the King brother is. I really want to know who the other King brother is in friggin' is that Tekken? Who's
Armor King.
I want to know who. Yeah, I want to know who Armor King
tell
is.
Me. I don't think he's a brother. That was just
okay.
That was just the first thing I could think of. I've zero idea.
That's on my mind now, though. Yeah, I want to know. Check comments. Tell us.
I'm not gonna Google it.
No,
I'm gonna wait for someone to comment.
That's right. We are waiting for you.
That as fact.
That's right. Whatever you tell us it is, we're gonna take that as verbatim. That is what the story is. By all means, you have to tell us.
Yeah, and subscribe as well. Do that while you're at it.
Yeah.
Dave, where can we follow you?
Well, I am out and about, but in my in the playing of this game, with reclaiming the SoulCalibur and all the experience I went through, I actually befriended Voldo, the weird kind of unlike boneless scissor hand monstrosity that he is, and strangely enough, he needs someone to bath him on the regular. He, his latest slave got away. He needs someone to give him a nice bath and a shower and look after him generally. Because with knife hands, you can't really get around with much. You can't do much yourself except for fight. So I will make you Voldo's slave, companion,
bath assistant,
art assistant, just blade sharpener. Just expect lots of cuts and no plasters. That's fundamentally what life you'll be living.
That's a hell no from me, dog.
Well, I just always think, do you think like him and like Edward Scissorhands are just friends? Do you think they join a Discord or like on Reddit and stuff like that of just blade-fingered individuals?
Yes, and the giraffe centipede from Sekiro.
Yeah, exactly. I bet you there's a whole Reddit thread of just people with blade fingers that just hang out. But yeah, by all accounts, if you want to follow me and live that life, find me. I'll hook you right up.
No, thank you. Dave, what have we got lined up for next week?
Well, the list in all its knowledge, all hell the list, decided to give us a 2019 PC game, Planet Zoo.
Hell yeah.
Which I remember. I've never played it. I remember it was on demo discs and stuff for magazine covers back in the day.
That was Zoo Tycoon.
Was that Zoo Tycoon?
That was Zoo Tycoon, a game I have an extensive history with.
Oh, so this is something you might actually enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
I've never played Planet Zoo. I know it's got a fairly decent following. I know a lot of people have played it. And I like zoos. I like animals. I look forward. It's a management sim, right? You manage a zoo.
It is. It is. It's like Roller Coaster Tycoon, but it's just a zoo.
Fair. Okay. I look forward to it. I look forward to managing a zoo. And if you are going to looking forward to such things too, check out our review of it next week.
Yeah.
Should be a good one, I suppose.
I think so as well. We'll see you then. Cheers.
Cheers.